Wednesday night, and that means it's time for the Lamar Thomas Show, featuring the greatest receiver in the history of college football. Just ask them, Lamar Thomas.
I was born in Ocala, Florida. I moved to Gainesville to go to high school. Been recruited probably since the 9th grade, illegally, I might add, by the University of Florida. I still can remember Coach Solinger, Don Solinger, coming out to our practice one day. Here it is, this guy comes out in the University of Miami jacket, and I said, I can't believe that's Miami out here. And, you know, I wanted to go up and say, hey, I'm Lamar Thomas. And actually, I did walk up to him and I said, hey, Coach, I'm Lamar Thomas. And he said, I know. And that was the start of my relationships with the University of Miami.
Patton, another good block, and Toretto lays it out. Touchdown, Miami.
You come down here, you'll be on TV every weekend, dominating. I thought about it. I said, man, where do I sign? My mom, on Saturday mornings, I would wake up and she'd be holding my hand. I thought she was the weirdest lady in the world. But she was holding my hands and she would be rubbing them and saying, one day these hands are gonna make you a lot of money. She was smart.
So now, here he is, the great one, along with co-host Gary Ferman of Canesport.com, Lamar Thomas.
The road-weary Lamar Thomas.
Woo!
All I know is we were texting at 1 o'clock in the morning last night, and you were getting ready for the XFL draft. I think you grabbed a couple hours of sleep and was grinding in the draft room all day today, LT. But you made it. You made it to your show. So I'll welcome you to your show, and we'll welcome everybody else to your show. It's Wednesday night, and that means it's time for the Lamar Thomas Show, like the opening said. And tonight's show is presented by Caneswear, as always, where they are loading up for the holiday shopping season. You see some of the merchandise behind me tonight, and there will be a lot more for everybody that has holiday shopping needs for their family, their friends, and also by the law office of Christine Rosendahl, Esquire, PA. You can reach her at 561-512-6199, Christine Rosendahl, ESQPA at hotmail.com. And she is the lady that can help all you guys out there at any moment of need. You never know when that's going to come. And she's just a phone call away. And Lamar will show you later, I'm sure. He's got the little black card that he keeps with him at all times. And Christine Rosendahl is your go-to lady for any legal needs that you might come across. And none of us ever want them. But LT, you just never know, right?
You just never know.
Oh, and through the wonders of technology, LT's got Caneswear behind them now as well. There it is. There's that black card. All right, so obviously, Lamar, we have so much to talk about tonight. The win at Georgia Tech, and then, of course, the draft. And you're grinding away in the draft room, and you had a special target in mind as the assistant head coach of the Orlando Guardians, and you were able to draft him today, and that is Charleston Rambo of the Miami Hurricanes. And that's going to be so special for you guys, you know, Rambo to be teamed up with you, and of course T-Buck, and get to play in the XFL. And we'll have Rambo on the show later on tonight and talk about it a little bit. We're also going to be joined by Brandon Merriweather tonight. So we're looking forward to that. And John Beeson will also be in the house this evening. So action-packed show, LT.
That's right.
Where do we begin, man? Let's talk about Georgia Tech.
All right.
Such a great and interesting day in many ways for the Miami Hurricanes, but probably took care of business maybe better than they have in any game this season.
Well, I like the play overall. I think, to me personally, probably the best game. Like you said, they played the whole season. They still make mistakes, but they were able to take care of a Georgia Tech team that was they're hurting a little bit too. But you knew that they were going to come to play because their coach, the interim coach, job's on the line. He's trying to maybe even get the job. It's the end of the season. They felt like they were playing a team that was just as wounded as they were. So they came out and they gave it everything they had, but Miami was able to pull it out. I think, my opinion, because we had superior talent. For once on the field, we had superior talent, and it showed with some of those guys getting to make some plays. You talk about the way the tight ends played. I even tweeted, as hey man, Stephen Fields done a great job with those tight ends. They scored 2 touchdowns, and he's not just a recruiter. Even though he's a great recruiter, he's also a good coach. So, some of those things that showed up, I think Gaddis was able to find some mismatches and take advantage of it. I think probably one of his best games calling offense this whole year, and look what they were able to do on defense. They were able to make some timely interceptions, some timely tackles for losses. I just think that, again, in my opinion, this was probably the best game they played the whole year.
All right, so there were so many layers to it, Lamar. They're starting a true freshman quarterback, Ja'Carri Brown. Obviously, Tyler Van Dyke is hurt. Mm-hmm. Jake Garcia has mentally imploded, which was a total shock. But
you knew it was something, because if you think about it, why would the Florida State game, Ja'Carri, be in there as much? Remember, the kid had just won the Virginia game. Am I correct? So, they didn't score only 1 touchdown, but he had just won the Virginia game. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, so Jake's going to come out there and he has some momentum, but they played more Ja'Carri.
So 5 turnovers in the Duke game.
Yes.
2 turnovers in his first 3 plays in the Florida State game. Mm-hmm. That's 7 turnovers, Lamar, in like little more than 2 quarters of football. When have you ever seen that before? You've been around football your entire life. And I think it's just got to the point where, I don't know what happened, or nobody had ever seen this in practice. Right. And we'll ask Rambo about it later. He was out there certainly last year with these quarterbacks. Nobody was prepared for what happened, but Jake Garcia suddenly became a turnover machine. He wasn't executing the offense properly. He's holding the ball too long. He's getting strip sacks galore. When he is throwing it, he's throwing interceptions. And it got to the point where the thing to do was find out what you have in Ja'Carri. And so I want to talk to you about that from the coaching standpoint, because what that involved was a reined-in game plan. That was pretty obvious. There was not a ton of passing game in the game plan at all last week. Some bubble screens, safe passes. They threw the ball down the field twice, Lamar, the entire game at Georgia Tech. And it was clear that Josh Gaddis knew that, or at least felt going in, that if they went in there and played a clean game, ran the ball, hit a couple, pass plays that were safe, and didn't turn it over, that they were going to beat Georgia Tech.
Well, definitely, he probably thought that, just from watching film and knowing what they were going through the whole year. But, when you play a young quarterback, as they did against Florida State, you don't try to give him too much. And if you saw Florida State, they might have had maybe 6-7 plays. Some things like they were running over and over again. And you're like, man, what are you doing? So this week they come back with still a condensed game plan, but I think they catered it to safe passes, safe plays, giving him some confidence, not letting him stand back there too long, and giving Georgia Tech an opportunity to get some sacks. So when we had Lamar Jackson at the University of Louisville, the second game of the year after we played Auburn, the first game, we started a freshman named Lamar Jackson, at home against Houston. And instead of us doing the same thing, we kind of say, hey, here's the offense. And it was probably the worst performance of that kid's life. His first start at the University of Louisville against Houston, they threw every blitz in the history at him, and he looked awful because we didn't condense the game plan.
Bobby Petrino gave him the whole offense.
Yes.
Okay.
But he learned from that. You have to, and he's been in coaching a long time. I don't know what he was going through, because I was thinking, man, we need to bring this back a little bit. But he went into that game. Houston beat the hell out of us. They blitzed us every play. He looked confused, and it was awful. But as they brought the kid along from that point on, they gave him a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And by the end of the season, it showed against Texas A&M. So I think this is what Gaddis is doing now. I'm going back to the conversation I had with Frank Ponce, the offensive coordinator of the University. No, not the offensive coordinator. I keep saying that. The quarterbacks coach at the University of Miami. Before the Florida State game, he said, man, I really like this kid. I'm telling you, Lamar, this kid is going to be special. And I'm like thinking he's talking about Jay Garcia or something. He was talking about number 11. He's like, this kid can make every throw. He said, what we try to do, we know he can run. So what we try to do is keep him in the pocket in practice. Force him to make the throws in practice. And he says, man, sometimes you just go, wow, what a throw, because he has great arm strength, great presence. So, and he even said now, he said, Lamar, I know you're gonna look at me kind of crazy for saying this. He said, this guy, I really believe, if he continues to improve, will be the next Charlie Ward.
Huh.
I'm just telling you what the man said. And I kind of looked at him like, okay. And then obviously we go out and we watch the Florida State game where he was running about 6 plays, and you're like, if that's the next Charlie Ward, you got to open it up a little bit.
You should have been at spring practice and fall practice. Well, you were some, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, I've gotten myself into a little bit of trouble here because when I'm watching him in fall practice and spring practice, it wasn't pretty, Lamar.
Right.
And anybody that was out there would say the same thing. I mean, he was struggling throwing the football, and but as the season has gone on, we've been hearing that he's doing better, and he's been working at it and progressively doing better. Now, that said, and what Frank Ponce said to you was, against Florida State, when it's third down and they got to throw the ball, they were bringing Jake Garcia in to throw the ball.
Correct.
Until he just couldn't execute. But so he's showing progress, but they still know that he's not there yet. I mean,
you saw the game plan against Georgia Tech, throwing the ball down the field twice. That's handling him with kid gloves. So with that being said, that was the right thing to do. Now, you fast forward to another week, everybody kind of knows that you're going to make safe throws, and we're going to see what type of game plan the University of Miami's offensive staff can put together. And this young quarterback who they are bringing along, that was great progress. Obviously the Florida State game was kind of unfair to him going against a team that was they were ready to play, probably one of the hottest teams in the country right now. And they have to go in there and with a simplified game plan, basically 6 or 7 plays, it looked like to me. Maybe it was more, but it just looked like they were running the same plays over and over again. Correct.
Yeah.
And now, you have confidence. I always said this, man, when you, like in the beginning of the game, I always wanted to take that first hit, and get it out of my system, and just like as a freshman, I wanted to get that first catch. And then once I got that first catch, I felt more relaxed. For this young man, he got that first game against Florida, that real taste of that first rivalry game where you got hit, you got destroyed, and hopefully it'll make him an even better quarterback. Because, you look at it, when you're playing a game like that, I mean, what next? How for the rest of the year, those games won't be as big as that Florida State game. I mean, that was a big game. Now, it might mean more to beat a Clemson or a Pitt, but that game was a huge game for him to play in as a young guy.
So it's going to be interesting to see where this goes from here. I don't know if Tyler Van Dyke's going to make it back or not. I mean, it's very much in question. They've been saying that he's coming along, but we don't know. Is that real? Is he really going to be out there? Is it deception to make Clemson prepare for him? We don't know the answer to that yet at this point. But going into next year is where this is going to really get interesting, because your number one priority has to be to get Tyler Van Dyke to come back next year. Has to be, just to, because you don't know where Jakari is going to be 9 months from now. You just don't know, I mean, we and I think that they're going to find out this Saturday that a restricted offense that might work against Georgia Tech, Lamar, is it going to work against Clemson?
Man, I mean, Clemson is still Clemson. They're still the, one of the premier teams in the ACC. I hate going back to this, but when this league was created, not created, but when they made the additions of Miami, we thought that it would be Miami, Florida State, but it has been Clemson. They are the top of the iceberg here. I mean, I know they aren't as great as they have been, but they still have a lot of great players in that D line. Those D linemen they have, they're playing very well. And this is going to be a test for the University of Miami, especially the offensive staff, as far as Gaddis and those guys putting together a game plan. Now, the one good thing I can say, and I've asked many people this, and we even asked, I think, Malik on the show, Clemson used to steal your signals. Now, they had Brent Venables. I don't know. Maybe they ain't not stealing signals no more because they ain't as good as they were with Brent Venables. So I don't know. Maybe it's starting to catch up with him.
And Brent Venables is not as good as he was at Clemson.
And he's not as good as he was at Clemson either. So I don't know. Maybe they just work great together, those two, Dabo and Brent. But right now it ain't happening. So teams are moving the ball on them. Teams are playing, having great games against them. I mean, but they're winning the games because they're Clemson and they have superior athletes. It's just like Miami going against Georgia Tech. So, but if Gaddis puts together a game plan, I think this does wonders for the confidence of this young man, confidence for him as a play caller, and confidence for the whole offensive group.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be so interesting. You're talking about they went 9 quarters without a touchdown on offense. And they've had 130 yards passing each of the last 2 games. When I'm looking big picture, LT, there's a lot that, there's some positives here and there's some negatives here. And at some point under Mario Cristobal, it's going to become game on. Like, I mean, they're going to bring in, 30, 40 new players this year. They're going to replace half the roster. Right. And, at some point, Mario's going to want to turn the page. He's taken his lumps this year. And, it's year 1 and he's laying a foundation. But at some point, your playmakers are going to want to get the ball. Down, they're going to want to get your receivers, your tight ends. I mean, people get at me for talking about Will Mallory. Will Mallory's a decent tight end, and he has just had a waste of a senior year, Lamar. I mean, he's not doing hardly anything. He's catching an occasional touchdown pass. He had 0 targets in the Florida State game. He had 1 target against Georgia Tech. I mean, this is a kid that should be catching 6-7 balls a game. I mean,
well, it's hard to be a target when the quarterback's running for his life now.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, and I mean, like, this is not a major college offense right now. Restrepo caught 3 passes for 10 yards last week. Colby Young caught 2 passes for 19 yards last week. They're not involved in the game, and. I think that they have. I think there's going to be a lot of layers to this as they move forward.
Gary, not cutting you off, but the thing that I worry about with the 30 or 40 guys coming in, and this is where Mario is going to have to really, and that staff in that whole building, are going to really have to earn their paycheck as far as team chemistry. Because when you're bringing this many guys together from all different places, if you don't have the foundation there, it could be bad. Because you're bringing these guys in, they got all different thoughts from everywhere else. If you don't have that foundation, that leadership there, and that strong coaching staff, which I'm not, I'm just saying, then it could be even worse if you lose 1 or 2 games, and it can implode inside out. So that's something to watch out for. And, obviously with this whole NIL thing, I mean, there's so many, like you said, there's so many layers to college football right now with the money and kids not being happy and transferring. And I mean, just Gilbert Friesen, 3 games ago, he says, "Hey, I'm out. Is he going to play in the game, the next 3 games, or he just done?" I mean, do you know, Gary? I don't know.
No, he's not playing anymore.
I mean, I
don't think Thad Franklin's playing anymore.
I saw that. Keyshawn shipped. He tapped out.
I mean, the process is happening. Like, guys don't want to get hurt right before they go in the portal, for starters. And Miami isn't going to want them to get hurt if they know they're going to be going in the portal. And it's about that time of year, where some hard decisions have to be made. But
and you want guys on that team that want to be there. That's where, I mean, this is today's college football game. We're just seeing it because we're seeing probably the bad side of it, because one, we do have a lot of NIL money out there, and we were the team that everybody was looking at going, dang. And it hadn't been a great year like we imagined, or not even a great year, not a good year. And so we know guys are going to be shipping in and out. So now it's like everybody's looking at us saying, and take, for example, Texas A&M, same thing. So people are looking at this program, people are looking at that program, and they're saying, okay, you got all this money, or you got these NIL deals, but you're not producing on the field. Well, for us, I just think that it's going to take team chemistry, getting the right people in. Obviously, even I like this coaching staff. I do. I just think that everybody now, the coaches are going to have to try to figure out these kids. They're going to have to try to figure out the new kids that are coming in, try to evaluate the talent, but also try to recognize and let the kids know who the leaders are in that locker room, and have, because you're going to need it. You're going to have so many different people in there from different places. You have to identify your leaders on that team and say, okay, guys, we can't be in the locker room all the time. It's up to you guys to get this right down here. And, it's going to be interesting to watch.
So this quarterback thing is going to be as interesting as anything, because, Jaden Rashada, who was an Elite 11 quarterback prospect that had been committed to the program, has now decommitted. So they got a kid named Emory Williams coming in. He's going to be more of a developmental type quarterback, I think. So you're looking at next year, does Van Dyke come back? And, because of the way this year has gone, Lamar, we're sitting here a year ago. That kid's putting up 300-yard games every week. Correct. And a guy named Charleston Rambo and Mike Harley are breaking every receiving record at Miami. I mean, they were putting up some serious passing game numbers with Tyler Van Dyke, and he didn't just suddenly lose all his talent. Like, this year has been a disaster for everybody. So from what I've been hearing, there's a lot of conversation taking place geared around getting Tyler Van Dyke to come back next year, and he'll get NIL and the whole thing, and they'll keep developing Jakuri and just see where that takes them as they go forward. And of course, they're not going to stop recruiting quarterbacks.
Okay. Let me ask you this: Jakuri wins one out of two of these games. He pulls us through to win that game. Does Tyler Van Dyke stay, or does Tyler Van Dyke leave? Because now we're in the same situation we were in coming into this year. I mean, you got to ride that wave. How are you going to tell the guy that just won you the Pitt game or the Clemson game or both, and you're saying, okay, now you're the backup? Everybody's going to be calling his phone going, hey, man, but you want to say the same thing I said to Lamar Jackson when he came on the visit. You're going to be a backup to Brad Kaya? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I'm telling you, Lamar, this is a tough deal here, man.
Oh,
like Lamar Thomas is on the Miami Hurricanes this year, and you're getting one target a game, and you're catching one pass for 10 yards. What's going through your head?
Me?
That's my point.
Now, man,
they don't. What would your new draft pick, Charleston Rambo, who rewrote the record books last year, be thinking if he was catching one pass for 10 yards the last few games? Yeah, I mean, this is a major problem.
Oh yeah,
for Mario and if Gaddis then then there's the question: is Gaddis going to be back?
Mm-hmm.
And there are so many layers to this, Lamar.
My thing is, I like guys. I don't really like a lot of movement as far as you give the guys a couple years to try to develop. I mean, even as players, you give them a couple years to develop, and you have to kind of know what players you're bringing in here and kind of mold your offense to them. And maybe he's taking some things out, and maybe he'll put some things back in. At that first year, their injuries, their guys, their O-line play, they're fumbling, they're, not knowing who the key receivers are, quarterback play. There's so many layers to it. He even had to come down from out the box and be on the sideline. I mean, you're just trying to figure it out. This has been a tough year. Quarterbacks having 2-3 turnovers in the first 3-4 plays of the game. Who counts? Who says that's going to happen? Who knows that's going to happen? So, give the guy another year or two, and let's see where it happens. I just hate the fact when I read, get rid of Gaddis or get rid of this guy, or, they just got here. Let them develop. Let them also learn. They have to learn these kids. You take a guy like Gaddis. Has he really coached kids from South Florida before? This might be a little different for him. Now, it's not easy coaching kids from South Florida. Now, you have to know them. They have to trust you. For one, you can't talk to them any kind of way unless they trust you. And you have to show them the fact that you can be trusted. So you can't go in there rah, 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 rah. And they looking at you like, bro, who are you? And so it's so they're these are things, and I always think this when I see guys being hired here, and I'm like, do they know what they're getting themselves into? You got parents, you got my South Florida parents. They're different. They coming after you. They need to talk to you.
Hey, it's the parents from outside of South Florida that are giving Mario the hardest time these days.
But, so there's when you come from a different place, and you're used to a different type of kid. I mean, Michigan, those are different kids than the kids down here. Of course you coached at Alabama, but that's structured. They ain't getting out of line. They ain't doing this different. Okay. There's a coach to coach him, and the coach to coach him, and another coach. And there's all kinds of things layered there. This is different, man. This is different. So you kind of, again, you have to grow. He has to grow. These kids have to grow. We got to figure it out. We're gonna. It's like a puzzle. We're gonna lose some puzzle pieces. We're gonna add some. But at the end of the day, I think it all starts with the foundation, the infrastructure of making sure you have leaders, and you have to make sure these guys understand what you expect in this locker room as University of Miami football players, and that comes with Mario.
I mean, I wonder what kind of minds. I mean, I think I know the answer to this, but. I don't know that Mario is going to be like all fired up about another developmental year where they're losing 3, 4, 5, 6 games.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe that ends up being reality, but I think he's going into next year thinking, I want to compete for the ACC. I mean, they're going to be able to bring some good players in. They'll probably bring 10, 12 transfers in. They're going to have some really good high school kids that are going to come in as true freshmen. Some of these young receivers that they're recruiting should be able to contribute in year one. And I'm sure they're planning to be a heck of a lot better than they are this year. And it's just, I mean, there are just going to be so many hard decisions that have to be made. And one of the biggest is going to be quarterback.
Yes, definitely quarterbacks. I mean, we can talk about this till we're blue in the face. I mean, this is, what will help, I think, is if this young man, number 11, can go out there and have 2 solid games against 2 good teams in your conference. And if he does that, then it makes it very interesting.
Does one of them have to be with a real passing game, Lamar?
Yes, you're playing 2 teams that are, I do put Pitt up in the tier upper ACC too. So they I think over the last couple of years they deserve it. They've been there. They had quarterback to go in the first round. They had some good players. Addison left, and I still think that they're a good program. They're not Georgia Tech. They're not Virginia Tech. They're on the upper tier.
Yeah. So this will probably be a conversation for next week. But like you're assuming they don't beat Clemson, okay, and it will take a lot to beat Clemson this weekend. Yeah. So if you're going into the Pitt game at 5-6, and you got to win that game to be bowl eligible, do you go with the Georgia Tech game plan? Keep it tight, close to the vest, and try to eke out a victory? Or do you just let it loose, man, and you say, Jakari, it's time to see what you're made of, and you give him a real assortment of plays. You get your playmakers involved in the game, and you go and you try to, you go for it, Lamar. You go to win it with a representative college football offense, like we see many teams running every Saturday. That is going to be another dilemma for next week.
It's going to be a huge dilemma because, like you said, you're trying to figure out, okay, do we not take chances and put it on our defense, wear them down? Because it can happen. That kid Shipley's running the ball. Wasn't it Ui Fumpododo? Well, I don't even know his name. Number 5. That's a good. He runs the ball.
Clemson's probably going to score in the 30s.
Yeah. So it's going to take some points. Are you going to be able to drive the ball consistently down the field on them? And it's Clemson thinking, hey, they can't go downfield. They can't beat us. Only thing they can do is throw it up to number 88, and hopefully he can make a play. Maybe even make some plays with the tight end, but they've kind of gone away from that. Everything is short. The running game is coming back, but hey, who knows if we can hit number 4 hard, maybe he'll give it up. These are things that they're thinking in their game plan. And so I really believe they're going to come out in the beginning and say, let's see what Miami's going to try to do first. Let's see. We're going to just not press them, not press them. We're just going to try to figure them out. And they want to play the short game, then we figured it out. And we're going to force their hand to throw it deep or try to make plays downfield.
And they're going to come after Jakari this week. I mean, they're not going to sit back.
But here's the thing: with a team like that, they don't really have to come at you after you that much because they got 4 guys. That 4-man rush sometimes can get to you. They got their D-line. They've always had great D-line play, so they don't really have to blitz much. I always tell the story about Eddie Grand preparing for Alabama. And he's like, yo, we got to really look at these 3rd down blitzes. I go, Eddie, you need to worry about 1st and 2nd down, the regular blitzes.
Well, that's kind of what I'm getting at. Yeah, those 15, 16 runs up the middle that they've been running the last couple games. Yeah. I see Clemson teeing off on that stuff.
That dude, number 10 or whatever, man, that dude is the biggest guy I've ever seen in my life playing D-line. I don't even know his name. He's just big. He when he gets down in the stands, his leg is the linebacker got to move his leg over. That's how big he is. So I mean, they got a huge defensive line, and they've always been good. So with that being said, I think in the beginning they're going to try to get after him, try to get after Miami's O-line. If they can get after Miami's O-line with not blitzing, then we're going to have problems the whole day.
Yeah. All right, let's take a short second here, and let's hear from our friends at Caneswear.
Welcome to Caneswear. Family owned and operated since 2010, Caneswear has all latest merchandise for the Miami Hurricanes, Miami Dolphins, Inter Miami Soccer, and more. Come visit us at our store in Davie on University Drive, just south of I-595, or online at caneswear.com. Caneswear, the spot Miami fans shop.
All right, LT, these guys, we're going to be joined by Brandon Merriweather here soon, but let's take a minute and take a look at the comments here on YouTube. Guys are going nuts. So Chris Lowe is he's tongue-in-cheeking me here. Gary, it sure looked like Jakari Brown was good enough to play quarterback at Miami. Lamar, I talked about preseason camp, and I'm sitting there watching what's going on. I'm like, man, I'm thinking Tyler Van Dyke, Jake Garcia. I'm thinking Jaden Rashada coming through the door in January, the Elite 11 quarterback, another Elite 11 quarterback, Emory Williams coming through the door in January. And I'm watching, a young quarterback that, quite frankly, couldn't hit a net in practice half the time. I mean, it was pretty rough. And I'm thinking to myself, man, I don't know that he's ever going to be able to play quarterback here. And I wasn't picking on him or anything.
Right.
I mean, I'm just watching what's going on. I'm like, man, but I'm seeing a kid, he's dynamic as heck, leadership, was a big leader in high school and all these things. I'm thinking man, we how can we get him involved this year? And man, did I touch a nerve when I said that.
Well, it's kind of like Gary, you got to be careful sometimes. I mean, I know you're trying to put it out there, the truth. It's just like when I went out there and I told you, when I watched those receivers and I said, man, they stink right now, and they, 11 or 12 50-50 balls and no catches out there. I'm thinking, man, is our defensive backfield that great, or are we just terrible at receiver? And I told you that, but I kind of didn't put it out there because, you have to be careful sometimes because you don't want to get jumped on. And they jumped on you. I read it. I've been watching it.
Yeah,
so,
and obviously I didn't mean anything of the sort like that. I mean, that's ridiculous. But I get it. I get this.
Right.
I mean, I'm just evaluating what I'm seeing. Lamar, you were out there for a scrimmage or two. I mean, would you agree with me that it was really rough?
Yeah, it was the day I went out. It was rough. I walked away. I remember telling one of the guys, Kelvin Harris, who, by the way, said we're going to beat Clemson. I want to put that out there. I remember telling him, I said, "Man, bro, this is going to be tough." And I said to him, I said 4 losses. He was saying 2. I said 4, maybe 5. I did not factor in Middle Tennessee. I can tell you that. I really can't. I am not that good to factor that one in. Okay. And I didn't factor in Duke. So it is what it is. But I also was thinking about down the line. I knew it would be rough for what the Miami Hurricanes fans expected, bringing Mario back. I knew it was be rough, and I told you guys before. I even told Mario, "You're 2 to 3 years away." I told him that to his face. "You're 2 to 3 years away." And he asked me, he said, "Why?" And I said, "Well, you don't have any depth." And I went by position, and I said, "Mario, remember, we won championships because of depth. When you build depth around here, and it's no fall off for the guy going out, the starter, and the backup comes in and he's just as good, you're going to win. You're going to win more than you're going to lose. So when you build it and you develop, that's the thing. Everybody wants to play the freshman that comes in. They're not developed, guys.
No.
Zaire Alexander played for us at Louisville. Lamar Jackson played for us at Louisville. They weren't developed. They were out there, but they weren't developed.
And Lamar Jackson was a freak, Lamar.
Yeah.
And I looked, because people were asking me about Lamar Jackson this week, and I looked back at his career, and you were there with a front row seat. Lamar Jackson had some serious passing stats. He wasn't just this quarterback that ran around and made great plays with his feet. He could throw the football pretty darn well.
Well, he also had a coordinator who was considered, he is still considered by many as one of the greatest offensive coordinators in college football. Now you take away everything else, it is what it is. But Bobby Petrino is a hell of an offensive mind, and he really knows how to game plan coaches, the defensive coaches. So he was able to put Lamar in some great situations, other than that Houston game, where he could be successful, and really taught him how to read defenses and really look at where to throw the football and when to run it. And there was some times where Bobby said, as the kid is breaking off a 70-yard run, "What the hell is he doing? That wasn't the right read." Like, coach, but he's about to score from 70 yards out. You gotta let him be him, So he had to take his controlling gloves off of his offense and let this kid be him, and also manufacture his offense to fit this kid.
So, these guys are coming at me, judging too soon and stuff like that. Lamar, with a young quarterback, what's fair? I mean, contrary to what a lot of people think right now, Jacurri's not really ready yet, and
right.
It's asking an enormous amount to put him out on the field this Saturday against that team in that environment. What's fair? When is it fair to evaluate somebody? You're watching, if in this case, you're watching a true freshman who's really struggling with mechanics and throwing the football. Like, when is it fair to judge him? When is it fair to expect, him to be able to execute more than what they're throwing at him right now and things like that? Like, what's fair? That's what I struggle with, because I don't look at football players as, oh, he's a freshman, sophomore, junior. I just look at them as football players, because true freshmen can come into college and succeed. I mean, it's not like it has to be, 2-3 years of development. You've been around a long time. You've coached. What's fair?
Well, I think, for this young man, he has to go through another spring. I mean, but this whole process, what he's going through now, to play against a Florida State, to play against a Clemson, and to play against a Pitt, I think that's part of the development process with this guy. Now, if he's able to go out there and do some good things, that's a building block for him, because now you go into spring practice and you're a little bit more seasoned. You've been through some tough teams. So, it's not like you got in the game against, I can't even say Middle Tennessee State anymore, but Bethune-Cookman, and you were successful. No, this is different. You got in the game against Florida State. You were able to, you did a couple things decent. Okay, that's building. You considering the game plan. You played, a good game against Georgia Tech. Not a good Georgia Tech team, but you play a good game. And who knows? You go out there against Clemson and you play pretty decent. And you win the game, or you go to Pitt, or you play Pitt at home and you're able to play a decent game and maybe even win a game. You're sky high now going into, don't forget, we win one of those games, you go to a bowl game, that's more practice. That's more practice, more reps, so it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, these next two games, I mean, that's this is why you want that opportunity to continue to get better. And, if he does, we go to a bowl game, that just adds to it. Now, again, like I said earlier, now Tyler Van Dyke is in the same place Garcia was in. When Mario came here to coach, he was riding the wave of Tyler Van Dyke. I don't think it was a true. You tell me, was it a true quarterback battle? No, you can't hardly give it a true quarterback battle when the guys
wasn't close.
About Heisman first round pick type of deal. That's not really true. So
it wasn't close. It really honestly wasn't close. There was very clear separation,
right.
But nobody expected Jake to play as poorly as he did. But there was definitely clear separation between Tyler and Jake in training camp. And, nobody was thinking for 1 second that Ja'Cory would end up playing this year. I mean, it was Tyler, there was Jake. It's amazing the things that can happen in a football season and how everything can get blown up and everything can change. And, obviously it took Tyler time to get going in Josh Gaddis's offense. Then he starts getting going in the offense and then he gets hurt. It's just been that kind of year,
Then he tries to come back in and he gets hurt again. That was pretty sad. That was a sad moment. So, I mean, this has been a wild year. I would have never expected this year to work out the way it has coming off of last year. I actually had, decent expectations as far as, but not Middle Tennessee State and not Duke. So, I mean, that's bad.
Now, we are going to have Charleston Rambo on the show later, but let's take a minute while we're waiting for Brandon to talk a little bit about the XFL draft today. And that was a unique experience for you. I know you went into the draft. We talked about it last week. You said you wanted Charleston Rambo.
Yes.
And he was there on the board when you guys drafted, and you were able to talk T-Buck into letting you take him. Mm-hmm. And but you put a lot of preparation into this draft. And, as football fans and guys that cover football, we watch drafts every year. Mm-hmm. And, it's a couple days in April and we watch teams pick guys, but you never see the thousands of hours that go into preparing for that draft and those picks. And I imagine with the XFL, it wasn't quite what it is with the NFL, but for you, it was your first go round doing this. Tell us a little bit about what the experience was like.
Well, obviously recruiting in college, I knew how to identify talent and evaluate guys. So it made it a little easier, but when you have 2,200 guys in the draft pool and 600, maybe 650, maybe 670 are receivers for 11 spots, that's a lot. So, as we're sitting there, I figured that we had 3 camps and I was able to see talent from we had a camp in Orlando. We had a camp. Actually, we had 4 camps. We had a camp in Pascagoula. We had a camp in Orlando. We had a camp in Atlanta, and we had another camp in Orlando. So I was able to see the talent up close. And what I figured I bet on this. All these other guys weren't going to evaluate talent. Okay. I thought that they were going to take guys getting cut from the NFL. And my thought process with guys getting cut from the NFL, now you're fighting over the same guys. And also, a lot of guys that get cut from the NFL, some of them are legs for camp. And what I mean by that, they bring him in saying, well, he's not going to make the team, but we'll just have him he'll run, so we'll save our guys. So I said, I'm going to concentrate on the guys that I get to see. Some of the guys I've coached before, some also a guy I got to watch all last year, like Rambo. These are the guys I concentrated on. And so I figured, even though I had a scenario, if Rambo's taken, we go to this person. If he's taken, we go to this person. Second pick, that guy's taken, we go to this pick. I had a big scenario for T-Buck that made it a lot easier. And I really thought out the whole process. And only 2 guys, we missed out on maybe 2 guys that were picked by other people that we really wanted. So I thought we did a great job of evaluating. T-Buck did a great job of it was a great, our coaching staff as one, we were able to, as a staff, we were able to evaluate the talent, and we've been working on it for 4 months. And we just figured some of these staffs were just going to take NFL cuts, and that's okay. If that's what you want to major in, that's okay. But we decided that we were going to take guys that we had some type of personal relationship with, and we're seeing and talk to. And I've always said this: I didn't want to get out to Arlington where we practice, and the first day go, "Hey, how you doing? I'm Coach Thomas." I wanted to be like, when I see the guy, I'm like, "You ready to rock and roll, baby? Let's go," because I already know the guy. You understand? So it was great. We got Rambo. I was very excited about that. He's a hell of a player. And, I think our whole coaching staff was excited, and he was the guy we targeted.
But Rambo wasn't really part of the pre-draft scouting process, was
right?
It?
No, because what he was still, and hey, there still might be an opportunity for him. And here's what we've talked about as a staff. Our goal is to get these guys to the next level, develop them and get them to the next level. So with that being said, if Rambo got a call next week, I'm helping him pack his bags, man. If you get a call to the league, to the big show, go. That's what we want. That's why we're here, and that's what I told him. I said, hey, man, because what he was still doing, he was still working out for some teams. So he was kind of off the radar. So I called him at the end and I said, hey, man, I'm going to put you in this draft pool. And he was like, well, coach, I'm still kind of working out. I said, that's fine. And you know what? If someone signs you, that's what we want. But if they don't, you have something to fall back on. I made that speech to a lot of guys that went to Miami. Bubba Bolden got drafted. I think there were a couple guys that got drafted. The big D lineman, Gerald Willis got drafted. There were a lot. So, I mean, these were some of the speech I was giving to some of these guys. Like, hey, man, you have an opportunity to continue your playing career and develop, and your goal should be trying to get to the big show. And our job is, as a coaching staff, is try to help you get there, whether it's on or off the field.
How are the salary levels going to be in this XFL league?
Well, it's a quarterback-driven league. The quarterbacks are going to make the most the big money, and I think the offensive players, the skill players, are going to make maybe between $50,000 and $60,000, and the quarterbacks up in the ones.
Wow.
So, and what we're able to do is, they don't have to pay for food, they don't have to pay for housing, and it's 10 games, so about 4 months, and they make a decent living, and they get film. So that's the great part about it. And we're trying to figure out how we're going to do the next year's draft, or whether it's going to be free agency or whether guys going to be retained. So these are all things that are being thought of now. But I think it's a great deal for these guys to continue their playing careers and to continue to be seen, because these games are going to be on TV, because we have a contract because of my boss, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, relationship with Disney, which means ABC, ESPN, that type of deal. So
he was running the draft today, wasn't he?
Oh yeah. He even stopped by to say hello. We were on Zoom, and he saw me, and he said, "Threw up to you," and I was like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Dang, I hope he doesn't remember when I was a senior. I talked to him." So
he seemed to be really enjoying himself. We're talking about The Rock now.
Yes.
I mean, imagine you're a backup defensive tackle at the University of Miami way back when, and now you're actually owning and running your own football league.
Yeah.
Kind of amazing considering that he's, how much money he makes doing movies and stuff like that. But obviously football is still in his blood, and it's a passion for him, and he had an opportunity here and he took it. Are you seeing that type of enthusiasm from him?
Oh, man. I mean, this is him and Danny, his wife, ex-wife. They have a great relationship where, she is the president of the league, and, they're excited. They have their, the whole platform about being the 54th. He was the 54th guy. That meant that he was the guy that didn't make the 53-man roster. And this is an opportunity for that young man to transition and try to get on a team, because for some reason, you're just not good enough to make that 53-man roster. So our job is to give you more experience, so that when you get a chance to try to make that 53-man roster, whatever you fell short in, some guys come from these schools, they don't know how to study, they don't know how to be a pro, and it takes a while to understand that. And if you're a late pick or not a high pick, they don't really have tolerance for it. So you get in there and you might have been a great player in college, but you don't know how to be a professional, and you screw yourself, because we always say it only takes one person in the building to like you, but it takes the right person in the building not to like you, for your ass not to be there. So, it's so our job is to try to help these guys. And, it'll be many nights where, we're talking football, but we're also talking life. We have a lot of things we have set up for these kids, a lot of speakers coming in to try to help them. This is a development league, and they need to learn some experiences that we've had in our lives, good and bad. And we're bringing people in. I mean, it's going to be a great deal. Life skills. We're going to have life skills for these kids.
So all the Canes fans around the state of Florida, do we flock to Orlando every week to watch the Guardians play? Did you guys come out of this draft in a good place in addition to Rambo?
We feel real good about the guys we were able to get on offense and on defense. We feel really, really good about it. Tomorrow we finish it up with special teams. It might be a surprise on that one. And then we have an open draft where you can, so there was a skill position draft. The first one was a skill position draft, 11 rounds, where it was running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, and was that it? Yeah, running backs, tight ends, and wide receivers. Okay. And then there was a DB draft, where the secondary. Then there was a D lineman draft, a front seven draft, which had D linemen and linebackers. Then there was an O-line draft. So tomorrow, all those are 11 rounds. And tomorrow we'll have a special teams draft early in the morning, finishing up with an open draft where now you can fill in your roster. Because understand, so I have 7 receivers on the roster. I want to have at least 11 taken into camp. So it's guys, my phone has been blowing up. Everybody wants an opportunity. Everybody wants a chance, and I definitely understand it. But it's only a minimum, a bunch of spots. So, have to be very careful about who we take because we got a lot of guys we want. So this has been a fun process. This helps me as a coach. I really believe, because now I've seen the other side of building a team. This isn't just where you show up and you got a coach who's there. You actually help bring these kids there by your evaluations. And I just think it makes me a better all-around coach as far as being a great football coach.
It's got to be so cool for you just, to be going through this, Lamar. I mean, it's such a, unique experience. What about quarterback? Who's going to be throwing to Rambo?
So we have a Seminole.
Oh, what a surprise.
How about that?
The head coach uses his influence, huh?
Francois.
Really?
Francois is our quarterback. And
wow.
Quentin Dormady is our backup for right now. And so, but we, the crazy thing is, so we were able to pick these guys, and they signed their contracts and all that other stuff. So we knew who our quarterbacks were going to be. They sent them to an Elite 8 camp or whatever it was. And so the first guy I wanted to pick, I wanted him more than anything, was Derek King. Houston signed him. Houston signed him. Okay?
Did they really?
Yeah,
wow.
Houston, or is it Houston or DC? One of them signed him. And so it might have been DC. They signed him, and 2 days ago he signed practice squad. So he's gone. And that's what could happen in this league. You draft these guys, and we got a bunch of guys in the secondary that could go at any time. So these are the chances we take. And but it's the ultimate goal is to try to get these guys to the NFL.
All right, let's shift gears back to the Canes here. And a guy that I was really proud of this weekend, Lamar, was Jalen Knighton. And, he's had a rough go of it this year. This year has not gone well. He's been banged up. He had fumbling problems. Really got benched. I mean, quite honestly, he didn't play a couple games ago. He comes back against Georgia Tech and had a real solid game. I mean, looked very much like the old Rooster. 16 carries, 118 yards. He had a 25-yard run sprinkled in there, averaged 7.4 yards a carry. As a player, to overcome disappointment and failure, because coming into this year, Jalen Knighton was supposed to be a superstar on this team.
Right.
And it hasn't played out like that at all. And, now he's having to bounce back during the course of a year and regain the confidence of the coaches, of his teammates, that he is not going to hurt their effort to win the game. And you could look at those fumbles he had earlier in the year, and you could point to probably 2 of those losses and say those fumbles had a really big part in them losing those games. Take us inside the mind of Jalen Knighton.
Man, that's a tough one because you're coming into this year thinking that you're going to be a pivotal part of this team. A guy that did great, one of the leading rushers from last year. I mean, the guy that we were counting on, and just things just didn't go as well as planned. You had some untimely fumbles, and you get benched. For that coaching staff to not give up on him, that's a good thing. And for him to come back and have a game like he had, that's a good thing. So it shows that he has some type of mental toughness. Some guys can't do it. Some guys, they have games like that and they're pretty much tanked for the next year, or they're getting in the transfer portal. You never know. But give him kudos for being able to come back and put a game together like that after some games where, I even heard some boos, and that's part of playing in South Florida. Our fans are pretty rough, man. They boo quarterbacks. Hell, the only thing left is to boo Santa Claus. It would be like Philly, but they get after it pretty good. So I like the fact that he was able to get something and do something well. And I think that builds his confidence, and maybe we'll see the Jalen that we thought we would see the whole year.
All right, LT, we got a guy in the lobby who I know would love to put on a Miami Hurricanes jersey this weekend. A guy that lived for the big games through all his years of playing both at the U and in the National Football League, and that is our main man, John Beeson. And John, welcome to the Lamar Thomas Show, man, and great to see you again.
Thanks for having me. LT, I need to get my own show, man. Like, what do I got to do to get my own show?
Hey,
you know
man,
what I mean?
You probably would if you didn't work out so much. You know what I mean?
Hey, you know what it is, man? I'm missing these, bro. The rings. If you ain't got the hardware, what do you got? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's true. Hey, I called him today. Thank you. I appreciate. I called him today, and he was in there. I said, "Are you working out?" He said, "You know it. You know it." I mean,
man,
still looking physically fit.
So I wear these hats called, dad bod apparel, right? So it's like dad life, dad vibe. You got to embrace that. But you got the dad bod hat that I wear mostly, and people they laugh at me. I'm like, well, what's the deal? They're like, you don't have a dad bod. I'm like, I'm a dad and this is my body. Like, what do you mean I don't got a dad bod? So for me, man, I need to be more disciplined. You know how it goes, man.
Oh, yeah.
Just trying to look like I can still do it, but we know I can't. You know what I mean?
Well, you're right. You definitely still look like you can do it. We all us old folks, we a little jealous of. We saw you walk in the place the other night. We said, "Dang, he look like he still can play."
Nah, man, it's a perpetration, man. That's it. You know how it go. I mean, look, you the unk, so you're gonna look a little less like you can play. I'm just what is this? This would have been 6, 7. This is would have been my 7th season removed from playing. So I'm a little closer to it than you. That's all.
Okay. I appreciate it. So one of the things we love to talk about when we have guys come on the show, you being for Chaminade Madonna. Actually, you were really one of the first guys I really heard about Chaminade Madonna. You were the first.
There you go. Guy. There you go. You got it right.
Yeah,
you did your homework.
You were the first guy. Like, I'm like,
yeah, legit.
What the hell is that school?
Yeah, you're not wrong, man. From that standpoint, I did not want to go to Chaminade. When I played my last year Optimus Ball up in Broward at Pasadena Lakes, we won a Super Bowl with 18 kids. So a lot of us had to play both ways, but we had a few dudes, and my head coach actually graduated from Chaminade. So it was a coach that was out there, just looking at the 150-pound game, scouting. And he found out who my mom was and went and sat next to her and started talking about private school and this and that. My mom's like, we can't afford private school. And she's like, well, we have grants and parish grant if I wasn't Catholic, which I'm not.
Right.
And my mom's like, you going? I'm like, no, I'm not going. So she made me go there. It's very comparable to the Sean Taylor story. I had the unfortunate privilege of playing against him in that second round at Cobb Stadium when he was at Gulliver as a senior. I was a sophomore. That's the first time that I got introduced to the guy we know as ST. So
right.
When I got to Miami, man, I was number 2, so I was taking over for Willis. That was important to me to have that number, so they blessed me with it. I was very fortunate. But I was in between, Roscoe, who wore number 1, and Frank, who wore number 3, Grove dudes, Miami High, Gables High, which, I'd never heard of y'all. I'm from Liberty City. I'd never heard of Coral Gables High, but, it's okay, Frank. I know exactly who you are because you're the best to come out of the state ever, at that time. So, hey, man, he was crushing me, man. Oh, Chaminade, man, we bringing in 2A schools, this, that, and the other. Man, I was steaming, man. I was like,
I
man,
bet you were.
When you put these pads on, my goal is to hurt somebody, So I proved myself right away. The first day I passed, they were like, oh, now we get it, So it worked out.
So you had that chip on your shoulder. You had that chip
man.
on coming from a 2A school.
Yeah. And, look, LT, you get it, man. I mean, like I said this, you are that, right? Like prior to what you guys were able to establish at the University of Miami as a standard, like being able to come in and be the first to do something is one thing, but once the standard is established, it's like, yo, if I don't fit the bill, they're gonna call me out on it. Like
right.
we know the legacy of that, but going out there, putting your pads on and earning it the way you should is the reason why I went to Miami, because there was greatness. The goal was never just to be good, it was to be great. So at that time, back-to-back national championships, we know what happened with the fiasco in the Fiesta, as I like to call it. And it was the main reason why I chose to be a Hurricane is purely based on the fact that they did it a different way. They wanted to be great, and that was my goal, to come and win championships, and that was it.
So what other schools were chasing you, as I would probably say? What other schools were chasing you that you were maybe running it through your head about? What other schools?
Well, I'll go on record and say that I was a Seminole fan growing up, and it wasn't because they were better. They were just in the 90s, we had a little pause on the greatness, and then we got it right back as soon as they let us play again. We'll just say that, So early 90s, between Peter Warwick, Charlie Ward, Derek Brooks, those guys, they were they won 93, they won in 99. They shouldn't have won in 99. We know that,
right?
But
right.
For me, that was the school I wanted to go to. But the difference was, based on the recruiting process, I looked at the sense of family, right? Like going to a small private school where we had 24 seniors, it reminded me of Chaminade, where we didn't have great facilities. It wasn't about the glitz and the glam. Like, we put the work in. We would play anybody. We play 6A, 5A. We didn't care. Mark Guandolo, a disciple of Don Solinger, coming from, playing for a state championship at Southridge in 98, in 99, I'm sorry, comes to be my head coach my sophomore year at Chaminade because it was closer to home. And, taught me how to win, how to prepare, how to outwork people. And I was very much attracted to guys that were about that, and not so much the glitz and glams that look good. That doesn't win championships.
Well, since you admitted, I'll admit something too. I grew up a huge Gator fan.
Oh, that's even worse, man. Come on.
But you got to understand something, man. I grew up in the shadows, I mean, yeah. I'm on Cali Gainesville. That's all I knew. But
okay, I'll give you that.
Just like you, it comes a time, and this is when coaching college football, you talk to young men and you say, hey, man, you have to make a decision for what's based upon what you want out of the university.
Right.
Okay. And for me, it was similar to what you just said as far as going to a school that was small. I didn't want to go to a big school. You know, let's take football out of the equation. I would go to these schools on the official visit and say, take me to your largest class. And they take me to these big old auditoriums. I'm like, whoa.
200, 300 students,
And we go to Miami, it's like 45 people in the auditorium. You're like, or a regular class, 13 people.
Right.
So for me, just like you, it was like a big high school. And that was the attraction, one of the attractions to the University of Miami that I felt that, okay, well, Florida, you know, it's a big old school. Plus, they don't have no quarterback, and they got a guy named Emmitt Smith. I think I probably need to go down south. So
Listen, you made a great decision, and you know, obviously, I'm grateful. You know, I look at pioneers of, you know, the sport in general. You know, the Jackie Robinsons, the Muhammad Alis. You know, guys who paved the way to make it, you know, fashionable to say, hey, look, you know, this athletic path is one that you should travel. And you know, I look at some of the guys that are, you know, relevant now. You know, they forget to thank the people who came before them, whether it's their parents, a coach, or players. You know, like Sean Taylor was one of the main reasons I wanted to go to Miami. I was a big safety. I wanted to be the next Sean Taylor, like the way he played. I would love to play like him, you know. So those guys paved the way. You know, guys like yourself, as we go back in our history, and then you get a taste of the history, you're like, man, these dudes did it the way I always wanted to do it, the way we thought we was trying to do it at Chaminade. And now you look where Chaminade is now, like, you know, whether my picture's up on the wall, paintings on the wall, things are named after me. And it feels good. But to see the young guys that come after you, you know, you realize that, like, I had a standard, and they're upholding that standard. And my entire time at Miami, that's for the great, the ones that want to be good. It's never not apparent in your mind that you have a standard to uphold based on the dudes that came before you. You know, you paved the path. You made it easier for the transition, because, like, yo, you get a guy with that U on the side of his helmet, you know what you're getting on Sunday. No matter what round, right?
How many times they try to test you in the league about that? As soon as you got to camp.
Listen, I'll tell you this, man. You know, being in Carolina, it was not a prominent fixture in the league. We were not that, right? We were 25th ranked media market out of 32. But I tell you what, even when we were down, the U was down. On Saturdays, you know, we getting ready to travel, or we're doing a walkthrough before we have a home game. Everybody watching the college games, and but why everybody at my locker, bro? We not ranked number one. Why y'all coming to my locker talking about the U? Oh, you went to Georgia, you wanted to go to Miami. You went to Clemson, you wanted to go to Miami. You went to Bama, you went to, oh yeah, man. I was always a fan. I was scared. Like, it's the same story over and over again, you know. So I used to talk to our head recruiting coordinator, and I said, Don, listen, man. I say, just remember, I said, the University of Miami is like the supermarket. It does not matter the cuisine. We have what you want, right? It was the first. That's why it was when I was in school. It was always the first pro day. You had to have a standard of what greatness was in order to evaluate the rest of the country. That's right. You know, so from that standpoint, man, like, we did it in a certain way. I would be pushing that envelope, and I would tell the young guys, I say, man, you have a fast track. It's straight. You don't have all these terms. You come here, take care of your business, you know, dedicate yourself to being a champion, and you'll get to the next level, you know. And then it's even harder to win a championship because guys have different motives. Right. But I just felt that at that time, man, everybody was bought in, man. It was the way ball should be. You know, that's the best way to put it.
You think back, and you think about getting there, and I said it earlier, we talked about the infrastructure, the leaders in the locker room, the culture would not allow you to be anything but successful.
That's it. Or we're gonna weed you out.
We're gonna weed you out. You're right.
Weed you out. Like, you know, so I came in a unique time, and I'm sure, you know, you felt this later in your tenure at Miami, where it was the guys who were kind of coming in off your back, right? Like, yeah, y'all coming to the U now that we ranked, every year in the top 5. Like, we winning championships, whether they vote you in or not. We know who should have been in the game.
Right.
And to be there as a freshman and not to actually have the full experience. I got hurt early in the season, so I missed most of my freshman year, but through camp, the first couple of games that I was able to be a part of and playing, starting on special teams as a true freshman was kind of the goal. And to think we had 6 first-round picks. There was, I would say out of everybody, and maybe the other guys might push back on this, but the dude who was the guy was Big Daddy. That's what we called him. Vince Wilfork was the guy, And was Vilma the leader as a Mike Backer? Yeah, DJ Williams, Sean Taylor, Kellen Winslow, Big V, like Big Vern, like it was dudes on that team. And then if you look at what transpired from that year, you got 19 other first-round picks. Now, and it's not necessarily about being a first rounder. When much is given, much is expected. You're expected to come in and lead. So when you draft a guy that high, you expect him to do his job, but also do his job in a way to motivate the guy next to them. So, man, as a freshman, man, you had the heck now. You didn't speak. You just, you walked on eggshells because it felt like that. But they were showing you if you were aware, you're receptive to like what's going on. It was paid for you. And all I try to do out there is go out there and knock a dude's head off. And if I did that, I would get respect right away. Like I said, it only took one day of pass, and then that was like, okay, he good.
He good.
Offensive side, the defensive side.
We talk about freshmen coming in, and this guy's gonna come in and play and all this other stuff. It was back then. It was because we had so much depth. It was like, okay, I'm gonna develop, and I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna get better, and when it's my time, I'm gonna make it happen. Yeah, and that's what you expect. I mean, many guys didn't expect to come in and play as freshmen. I mean, maybe special teams, but not to be a key contributor. And that's where the program was. And when you start bringing guys in as true freshmen and you expect them to play, that means you got some serious issues, some serious holes in your program.
For sure, the transition should be. Based on the guys who are fortunate where you stay within the same scheme, whether it's the same OC or the same DC for multiple years. And now, you're 2-3 years into it. And now it's your time. Like you look at these great players, whether it's a Sean Taylor, let's just say that entire 6 first-round picks, none of those guys started as freshmen. That means you have a program that there's no way in the world you should be playing. And I said this to Michael Pinckney, who started as a freshman, to Shaq Quarterman, who started as a freshman. I said, UM failed you. You shouldn't have been ready. You're 18 years old. I said, here's how I'm going to make you believe what I'm saying, because you think you're the man. Okay. Lamar, were you better at 18 or 21 or 22?
No question, 21, 22.
Every player, it's not even close. I don't care. Developmentally, I don't even care how the transition was for you. Ultimately, when it comes down to it, you would be better served at 21 than at 18.
The game slowed down for us.
Yes.
Because now we understood the game more. Yes.
Right? The speed, the training, all of that comes, to the precipice at one time. And now it's your time. Everybody not DJ Williams.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
They're guys now.
There's some dudes.
Come in. There's some dudes, and that's they're dudes. But there's some of these guys that I'm looking at. These guys come in as freshmen, and even college coaching. You got these freshmen, and you're going. I'm going in the house to talk to a kid, and he's telling me, "Yeah, coach, I'm expecting to start as a freshman." And when
we all said it.
Yeah, I mean,
not here, bro. Like,
I'm like,
I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what you think, well, you got to show, it's a 80-some dudes on the roster. You got to prove that too.
That's it. And what? I never had that conversation. The lesser schools, hey, you're going to come in and play right away.
Yeah.
But that was never a conversation between Coach Coker, Randy Shannon, Mark Stoops, who was the DB coach at the time. I was a safety. Obviously, choosing to play safety over running back.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I told people, I was like, Sean Taylor was the starter, you know, 5th pick. Maybe the best dude to wear pads from my eyeballs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Brandon Merriweather, consistent All-American, first team, was the backup. And then there was a guy named Marcus Maxey who was deciding if he was going to play corner or safety, 6'2", and was mean and was real. Maybe, you know, it took longer for him to fit into the scheme and really find a place for himself. But listen, I'll tell you one thing about Marcus Maxey. You know, if he's not 1, he's definitely 2. The number 2 dude I would take with me in an alley. Like he that kind of dude, and he ride with you like no matter what. That's who he is, regardless of him being a 5th round pick or whatnot. Like moving a corner, but Mark, I mean, it was a beast. And I said, yeah, I'll sign up. I'll be 4th team as a top recruit in the country, go anywhere, because greatness was the standard. You know, you can't fear that. Greatness is revealed. You know, you earn that.
Now, you know, one of the viewers, they say, remember Beeson putting a hit stick on Jason Witten. One of the best, most violent hits I've ever seen.
I mean, listen, I'll say, listen, Witten is a GOAT. You know, he mostly a GOAT because he's a Cowboy.
Right.
And, you know, when you get that star on your head, you know, we tell a playback when we had Mike on here right now, boy. Mike probably, hey, Beast, man, don't disrespect the star, but that star got power.
Yeah.
That star give you 2, 3, 4, 5 tiers up, you know, especially the way Mike did it.
And you want to play your best game against them guys.
You want to play, man. So he was formidable, man. Consistent, which that's the number one. That's the number one pat on the back to give any player. When you consistent, that means I know what I'm gonna get, and I'm gonna get it every play. Most players, you can make a play and then you don't see a guy for a quarter.
Right.
It's not a great player. So, you know, Witten was very much that. You know, I had a chance to run into him later in my career when I was, you know, mostly banged up, man. But the way you play, Lamar, especially on the defensive side, man, so much of it is truly about effort. You know, offensively, you can scheme it up and coach put you in a great position and it's easy. You don't get touched. That's how you want to score.
Yeah.
But for me, you know, likely, you know, it's getting off a block of a man who's bigger, tackling the back who's probably stronger or faster, covering a receiver who's probably faster, and then there's no breaks. We don't do this. You know, that's the offense. That's wide receiver, running back things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you get an opportunity to make a play, man, it feels good. But you know, you got to keep fighting for it because the guy on the other side is really good too.
Now, you know, I saw you at the game. Well, I saw you before the game, where we had a chance to meet on South Beach and brotherhood with the NFL alumni. Some Florida State guys and some Miami guys.
Yeah,
we
some
had
big dudes that, like I said, during that era, that 90 era, like in the late 90s, you know, we can say who was there, like Snoop Minnis, man, like he's from here. He's crib.
Yeah.
But man, player, bro. Player, you know, so I was in good company. So I wasn't gonna miss that because I like to soak that up, man. And now that I can't do it no more, I like to live vicariously.
Yeah,
champion. Everybody that got a ring but me, you know that. And Edge ain't got no ring.
Well, you know, he got that one ring.
But he got the real ring.
He got that real ring.
And he got that head too, you know, like that.
Yeah. So it was fun, and we actually were talking, and we were going back and forth with the Florida State guys, bar none, William Floyd, whatever. We're just going back to respect the rivalry, okay?
Correct.
But there's no way we thought what I saw you the next day. Your look on your face and the look on my face, we did not expect what we saw that next day.
Listen, man, when you got to score like that, and that's at any game. I don't care if it's little league, high school, college, pros. When a score is that lopsided, half of it is effort, and effort is associated with quick. Great players, regardless of who they're playing against, they're not going to quit. You know, if you knock me down and you better than me, the next play I'm going to try to get you back. If you knock me down again, guess what? The next play I'm going to try to get you back. I'm not going to quit. And I went back. This is the only game all year that I've gone back and watched it because I want to watch every play. I want to rewind. I want that, we say the eye and the lie. Gary, we say the eye and the lie don't lie. You can rewind it. We know how you were moving, your intent, and coach knows you. Are you sprinting? Are you jogging? You loafing? Do you believe? Are you quitting? And a score that lopsided is based on quit. It's just conceding and saying, I give up. And they continue to just execute, not so much being physically better or even schematically better. The scheme was based on the inability to make adjustments based versus gap scheme runs where you're pulling guards and pulling tackles
and setting the edge.
And
nobody
like
wanted to set that edge.
Little things. And then the physical bust of when you're in space and you have the ability to tackle a guy missing. Offensively, you run a quarterback draw, but your receivers are running routes, and they don't block the nickel or the dime or the outside backer who's in the apex, who makes a tackle on a 3rd and 7, and he makes it at 5-yard gain because you could have been blocking him. Like it was a disconnect in all 3 phases. And part of that is, from my perspective, if I believe that we have, good coaches, which I do, part of that is buy-in, right? Like, whether your father's there or your father is not, you look at your coach as a father figure, the buy-in, the trust, the love that is there for your coach means if coach tells me to do something, I'm going to do it in a way that I know I should, because I believe that if I listen to him, I'm going to be in position to be successful.
That's right.
That's kind of where the program is now. And I'll say this, not so much about great coaches, but in general, coaches who are vetted. They got skin in the game. They got history. They got street cred. I believe that great coaches evaluate talent and put that skill set in position to be successful, even if it's not their scheme. You got to come in and you got to evaluate and assess guys and say, what can we do well and what we can't. It can't just be what you do. A great example of that would be Cam Newton, who had the fortunate luxury of being drafted during the lockout, where our guy Chubb was the offensive coordinator. We know he's a guru. We know that playbook is about this thick, about this thick. And with no OTAs, no training camp, all that, with the lockout, he was able to implement this much. So we're going to take this much of what I want to do, and then we're going to take this much of what you did at Auburn when you were the best player on the planet. And we're going to get you rookie MVP. We're going to throw for more yards than any rookie in history, more touchdowns. And I'm talking about the first 2 games. It was like, Cam can't do any of this. He can't do any of this mentally. Physically, he's just a running back, in a big body. And all he did was go out there and showcase what he could do well. That's a great coach.
Yeah, and what he was able to do is what we talked about actually earlier, coaches getting to know what their players can do, and also saying, okay, I got this offense, but let me make sure that I can curtail my offense to where I can make this guy successful. And maybe it's not even my offense. Maybe I try something different to help him as far as knowing the player and making him better.
Yeah. I mean, and part of that is, I'll give you an example, and I don't want to compare TBD to Mac Jones, but I will say, Mac Jones won the national championship, never lost a game, highest completion percentage, 10th pick. We know all that. Bill Belichick said he's worth the 10th pick. Guess what? He's probably a good football player. But it's a little different when you throw into Waddle, when you throw into Devontae Smith, the Heisman Trophy winner, who you're second best, the offensive line, where all of them went first round, the running back you handed it off to, I don't even know who was there. It doesn't matter.
It don't matter. It's
a little different.
Yeah.
It's a little different because now you doing your job from a singular perspective is just on you. That's what everybody else's job is, not quarterback. At quarterback, you expected to make everybody better.
Right.
But you look a little different when you get to the Patriots and you don't really have nobody to throw to. The offensive line is not that great. The defense is not as good as it's been historically under Bill Belichick. You don't look so good, Mac. You don't look so good. And we've noticed that the new age of the evaluation process, especially at the quarterback position, is I need to get me a guy who's athletic. Like I see Pat Mahomes scramble. He never has negative rushing in a game. Josh Allen, he scrambles. These are guys who are like, oh, they have great arms, but they can have the ability to also do something extra.
Extend the play.
Josh Allen's unbelievable. I mean, just unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. I mean, it's just and look, for my defense, I don't know how to stop that because I want a defensive lineman to be greedy, go get the sack, but also be like, hey man, on third down, can you like have some rush integrity and like don't just pick a side. Like, can you just look before you rush because this dude's gonna take off when I'm in man coverage and I can't stop him.
Can't stop
and
him.
I can't hit him either. You know, so
you can't hit it.
So TVD, if you give him time, or if you give him guys that want to catch the ball, Lamar, you know, no point intended, right?
Right.
All of a sudden, we can move the ball in a certain way. But, you know, I look at our offensive scheme, our defensive scheme is predicated on having dudes, right? Like defensively, if you want to play man-to-man on the outside with some of these receivers, and we saw this in Middle Tennessee where this dude, I don't know his name, number 3 and 83 both need to be in the portal next year. We need to pick them up. Because them dudes could flat out run and they caught the ball.
They still running.
Right? So when you don't have the mentality here to play big boy ball, which is like my man's better than your man, or I'm gonna run this zone read and my 5 guys gonna move these 4 defensive linemen out of the way and I'm gonna get 3 or 4. We don't have that. So you have to scheme in a way that will put these players in position. One, they were 8-4 before, so we know what they can do. So we should be evaluating them. And then we're gonna figure it out. And kind of going to Chikari is more about that, right? He gives you an added element. The line is not that formidable. At least he can extend plays, run some quarterback design runs, make decision versus man coverage, and move the chains. And all of a sudden, you know, you can score points or at least play field position. You know.
Well, man, I tell you what. One thing I realized about sitting at that table with you, you know ball, and you love ball, and you love ball, and you love ball, and that's to me. That's why I wanted you on the show, man, because I know you're going. It's easy to talk to you because you passionate about the University of Miami, you're passionate about ball, and you're passionate about life, and that's a great thing, man. You know, enjoyed having you on the show. Love to do it again. I just hope that the next time if we do this show again next year, have you back on. It's in good times where we can talk about how good the program is instead of what they're lacking. Right.
I mean, you know, that's where we're at, right? Like all we can hold on to is the fact that we believe we have intent, we have mentality within the coaching staff, and we need players that can buy into that. You know, to never say die. And LC, man, I mean, I'm so appreciative. I'm always paying it forward. You know, I was able to have a successful career because of, I truly believe that the path over, you know, a decade and a half, 2 decades was we do things differently. You know, it matters more. We care more. We prepare harder. And ultimately, you know, football is a 1-2 sport, man. And our 1-2 was always greater. So if it wasn't the Zebras that was going to screw y'all out of it, or at least even when I was in school getting screwed out of it, we know we did enough, you know. I appreciate that.
Hey, Beast, one last question. I thought it was a great question. I'm looking on here. Someone, Pinellas Kane said, Lamar asked Beeson if he wants to coach one day.
All right, so I'll try to be as short as I can. Okay. An article came out after the first Paradise Camp, and there was a top 10 of former players that would be the best candidates for coaches. And you know, I don't see nothing, man, because I'm not really socially tapped in. People got to tell me so. So I get a text message and someone sends it to me. I click on it. So I'm strolling through 10, 9, but number one, I was number one. And I said, man, I don't got no desire. But I tell you the difference and why I can't do it now is I was not the most physically gifted dude. I didn't go to the combine and break the clock. Mm-hmm. But I will say this, my teammates will tell you, whether it was at Miami, high school, or even in the pros, there wasn't a guy that worked harder. Maybe a guy worked as hard, but nobody worked harder. I got to pay homage to my teammates that really got it out the mud. But the reason I can't coach is because the game that I've watched now is not the game that I played. I got rewarded for being a try-hard, Rudy dude, want to. If you was an inch off the ground, Lamar, I promise you I'm hitting you. I'm not running my ass all the way across the field to pull up because I should be nice to you.
Right. Or you don't want to be fined or kicked out the game.
The game has changed. It's no longer what I know football to be.
Right.
So that's why I can't coach, because the way I would coach a kid and how I would coach a kid, I'm gonna be honest with him. That means I love him. So I can't not push him to be great. I'm not gonna tell you don't pull up. You don't pull up. You use your helmet. Okay, that's how you protect yourself. If it protects him, that's his fault. Get his ass down.
You're right, Coach. You might not want to be a coach right now.
So that's why I just hang out in the stands and I just cheer, man. I try to mentor, the knowledge from the mental part of it. But to tell a kid, hey, you can't do that, I'm like, man, what do you mean? If that wasn't the case, that's why they like me.
That's why they like this, right?
Because I couldn't do it, so that's why I'm not coaching.
Well, again, man, I appreciate you coming on, man. We got to do this again, man. You're such a genuine person, and again, your passion for everything that you believe in definitely shows when you talk. And we appreciate you being on, John.
Love anytime, and we just gonna keep our fingers crossed and pray about it, man. We got to get back.
All right, buddy.
Great seeing you again, John.
Love, man. LT,
all right,
appreciate it, big dog.
All right, baby. Thank you.
Yep.
Man, I needed some popcorn, LT. I just was sitting back and just taking all that in.
Man, he's just a very well-spoken guy, man. He's just very passionate. When you talk to him, he's very intense too. You just like, man, is he gonna get up and tackle me at this damn table? I don't want to get up and act like we're gonna do some moves or something, man. He's just very. And I saw him at that UM game, and he had the same hurt look I had after the game. He's very passionate about the program, and we only want to see the program do well. And it's, I think because, when you work hard to be really good and you're really good at that time, you want to see it happen again for not only the team, but for the fans that walk those stadiums too.
All right, we got Charleston Rambo on deck here, but first let's hear from our friends at Caneswear.
Welcome to Caneswear. Family owned and operated since 2010, Caneswear has all latest merchandise for the Miami Hurricanes, Miami Dolphins, Inter Miami Soccer, and more. Come visit us at our store in Davie on University Drive, just south of I-595, or online at Caneswear.com. Caneswear, the spot Miami fan shop.
All right.
What do you think, LT? Do you have your holiday shopping list ready to go?
Well, I already got my first present. I got Charleston Rambo today, so I'm good on that.
So he rewrote the receiver record books last year at Miami, and you became the assistant head coach of the Orlando Guardians. And I know that right at the top of your list of receivers that you wanted to bring to that team was Charleston Rambo, because of the respect that he earned from you in what he was able to do last year. And whenever somebody starts like taking the names of you and your contemporaries out from the top of the list, I mean, it registers, LT.
It registers. You're
and
right.
He really did have a heck of a year last year, and there's so much that we could talk to him about tonight. So let me pop him up here on the screen, and there he is. Rambo, what's up, man? Welcome back to the Lamar Thomas Show. A lot's been going on since we had you on this show last year, and there's your new coach, man, right there next to you now. What do you think?
What's good? How y'all been?
We're great. I'm great
What's
today.
good?
I tell you this, they just asked me, how about my Christmas shopping? I said, well, Christmas was the day I got the guy I wanted. So, it's
Most deaf.
it's a great conversation. We've been involved in some great conversations over the last week, a couple weeks. Obviously, this whole draft process, I was more into calling him than he was into calling me, and I'm just like, I understand that, and because again, it's like I told you before, Gary, he was still doing workouts for NFL teams, so. And I explained to you, Rambo, I said, hey, man, I understand that and I'm all for it. And hell, I hope you get another shot. But if you don't, in the meantime, I have something for you that might be beneficial. Am I correct?
Yes, sir, you did. I appreciate you, most deaf.
So today when I called him this morning, because I had to call him to find out if any other teams had been talking to him. There was 3 teams before us. And I was worried about those 3 teams. And so once he kind of assured me that it was none of those teams, I was like, well, hey, bro, we're going to take you with the 4th pick. And he was like, okay, I'm about to go work out right now. So, and I said, all right, man, well, check this out. At about 10:30, I need you to have your phone near you because I'm going to call and the head coach is going to call and it all worked this stuff out, Coach. And Coach Buckley called him. And I don't know if you saw it online. They had him talking to you. Thought it was a great deal. So, were you excited? Were you really excited, or were you just, oh, okay?
Oh, no, most deaf. I was extremely excited. I was doing my work, getting my work in, and just the opportunity to get out there and play that ball again. It is enjoyment to my heart. Just extremely excited to have this opportunity to play with y'all.
Well, coming off of the year that you had, man, I mean, man, it was unbelievable the year you had, and as a fellow receiver that played at the University of Miami, I was kind of jealous. I was happy, but I was kind of jealous because they threw it around a lot. Tell me what it was like to play in that offense that you played in under the coordinator that Rhett Lashley, that's now at SMU.
It was fun. Just going through the week of practice, leading up to the game on Saturday. We just know how we're gonna come out during that weekend, and we go out there Saturday. It's just ball play and just having fun with Coach Likens, Coach Lashley, whatever quarterback was in at that time, we're going to have a blast.
And but the offense to you, was it the offense where they basically were featuring you guys? Because you guys caught a lot of passes, man. I mean, it was your guys were going fast, but you caught a lot of passes. You caught a lot of passes downfield. Did you feel like during the week that every week it was almost like they were featuring you guys?
Just working in the system that we had and, just having the plays that we have, routes that we can go fade, post, stops, those type of routes. And, obviously the low slant routes as well. But, I mean, we would just know type of OC that we had. We were going to throw that ball and we were going to make plays and just be ready when your time has come.
So, now – the program is a little different. I mean, obviously, these guys are in Europe at the tail end or the start of it, getting these NIL deals. I'm not in the locker room now, and it's not per se in this locker room right here, but I wanted to ask a kid that was in college getting an NIL deal. Do you think that these type of things can kind of tear a team apart if they don't have the leadership within?
Yeah, most def, just having the money in your mind, most of the time, more than football than what it should be. But I mean, other than that, you want to ball, you're going to ball regardless. But I'm sure, money might take guys elsewhere. But, staying with the team, that might be better.
What about the younger guys that don't really, not mature enough to handle, he getting paid more money than me and all that other stuff? Those type of issues might come up sometimes.
Could have,
jealousy.
A younger guy might think he better than the older guy, might think he need another deal like that or so. But, your time will come and, you're going to be right there doing the same thing he's doing as well. But you know, NIL can be handled at certain points, you know, just by the student athlete, just, you know, carrying himself above, you know, just knowing like, okay, I got this much to lose, so let me just play football and just keep going like that. So, I mean, it can go this way and that way, I say.
You know, sometimes you don't realize what you have until it's not there anymore. And, you know, you came to Miami and you put up those numbers so fast and then you were gone. And it's been a little bit of a different picture this year, Charleston, as I'm sure, you know, I'm sure you've been watching. And you've been really, really, really missed. And at the same time, you've been going through a whole journey over here, you know, trying to get a pro career going, and now you're going to get this opportunity with Lamar in Orlando. Just tell us a little bit what this last, you know, I guess 9 months has been like for you, just in trying to get another world going for yourself.
Just grind mode, you know, just how it always been. You know, not worry about nobody else or, you know, the fans or what's the outside noise about. Just focus on me, tunnel vision, you know, just grind and making better self, you know, better version of myself. So when I do touch that field again, it shows and, you know, go up from there.
Now, you know, we talked to you last year about, you know, you coming from OU to Miami and you know, the thought process of, you know, coming to a new team, you know, and if I recall it, you were just like, yeah, you know, you were a little apprehensive, but it was all made better by your teammates. You know, those guys welcomed you. You know, tell us a little bit about that.
Just,
inside
you know,
that locker
going
room.
to a new, you know, coming to Miami, you asking?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, just coming to a new locker room, you know, new faces, new QBs, new running back, new tight end, new O-line, you know, just got to, you know, just see it out before you even just jump in, you know, just see how everybody else feeling, then just go from there. And, you know, after that, grind, show them what you really about and you really about this team. So, you know, show that you want to be there and grind your tail off to even show those guys that, oh, I can start as well. So, yeah, it's a lot to go into that. You just got to have your mind clear. And that's what I did. And, you know, stay grind mode as well. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, 79 catches. So 79 catches. I think my highest year was like 45 or 46. 79 catches, bro. I couldn't, man. I would, man, I'd have been ecstatic. And 1,172 yards and a couple touchdowns. I mean, as you built that, you obviously thought that you had an opportunity to go to the NFL, and I'm pretty sure it was a disappointment for what happened after, but you were able to get into camp. Am I correct?
Most definitely. I was at Carolina camp.
And how was that?
It was fun, you know, got a lot to learn, you know, just looking at the older guys there, watching those guys, you know, the receivers out in front of me, like Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, you know, just learning from those guys, they practice, seeing how they go about things, and, you know, just shit. Know what's up. You know, I know what I can do. I know what they can do as well. So, I mean, you know, just eye-opening. You know, it was my first camp. So, yeah, I learned a lot. And
I mean, you're going to learn a lot, and you have to, because those guys, they put up numbers, but you also understand and you see that maybe I'm not a true professional yet. Maybe I need to, you know, you saw some things, you're like, dang, these guys are really into film work. Like, they really are into maybe staying after working on their craft, or, you know, and that's, as a rookie, I try to tell people all the time that when you get in there, you're just like blown away by, you know, these older guys that are drinking coffee and reading Wall Street Journal, and you just barely getting there on time, and you just like, these are grown men with kids that are 17 and 18 years old. Was it a true eye opener for you?
No, not really too eye-opening, but, you know, just being in the league, you know, being on the team with guys like, obviously Baker Mayfield, I played with in college, and, you know, just having guys like Sam Darnold and, you know, other guys that, you know, you wouldn't have thought you was at Carolina, but, I mean, you probably on another team or so. But, I mean, just knowing that I can fit in and be great at a place. So, I mean, you know, not boost my confidence or anything, but, I mean, just eye-opening as the point, like, I see everything like in my face right now, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, like that. But other than that, more to come.
Is there any part of you that wishes, when you look at the NIL situation now in college football, and I'm sitting here thinking, man, Charleston Rambo probably could have gotten several $100,000 of NIL money this year to play at Miami. Is there any part of you that's looking at what's going on right now in college football with all these guys making real money and thinking, maybe I could have thought about it for a few more minutes, and maybe I should have gone and taken the NIL route and stayed at Miami?
I mean, it's whatever,
You're just taking it as it comes.
It's part of the process, God already has it written. So, if I would have stayed, something else would have happened. I would have left, something else would have happened, go both ways. But, don't have no doubts on no decisions I made or anything. But, I'm a pro, keep things professional. But, NIL is there for everybody. I hope the younger generation enjoy it. So,
I know one thing: you're in good hands now, Charleston.
Yeah,
you got the man coaching you for the next 4 or 5 months, and
I don't know about the man, but I tell you what, we're gonna have a great time. And we're very excited to have you as the guy that we wanted, that we pinpointed, and we were able to get our man. And we will we'll have a good time, man. We'll learn a lot. It's all about making sure you get another opportunity to get back to that next level, because that's important to us as your coach. So I'm excited about the opportunity. I hope you are too. And, like we say, let's go, Orlando, let's go. The Guardians,
let's
baby.
Go, Orlando, let's go. Most definitely.
But we thank you for being on tonight, man. And, I guess you and I will be talking some Canes football and Guardian football. So I'm excited, man. Glad we got you. And I'll be calling you tomorrow.
1,000. I'm excited as well, Coach.
All righty.
All right.
Charleston, great seeing you, man.
Yes, sir. Great seeing y'all. Talking to y'all as well.
You got
Thank you for your time, buddy.
I'm telling you, Lamar, they screwed up with him. He should have gotten a big NIL deal to come back this year. He would have made a big difference.
Yeah, I hate the fact that you can second guess yourself, and I like his attitude. He probably thought about it many times, but he's like, I got to keep going. I got to keep working. I got to stay on this grind. And, that's a good way to be, because, you can get caught up in, oh man, I didn't go where I wanted to go. The world is against me. I'm just going to give up. But his attitude is great. And that's one of the things I liked about him from the conversation we had leading up to the date. And that's why I was able to stand on the table for him, because I really felt like he really wanted to do this to get that opportunity again.
Yeah, they just weren't organized at that point.
Right.
Manny was on the way out. Right. Mario was coming in. They didn't have the NIL program established yet. I think if it were to happen again today, maybe it plays out differently. You got Alonzo in the building, sitting there, having real talk, saying, Charleston, look, I know you just had a great year and you're a big part of this team, but you might not get drafted, or if you do get drafted, it's going to be really, really late. You can come back here and you can make a few $100,000 to be on this team and keep trying to get better and see if your draft stock gets elevated this year. I think if it were a year later, that would have happened. And
yeah, I believe that too. It's just, getting those people in the building like a Alonzo Highsmith who has knowledge of the NFL. So, it's unfortunate, but I'm excited to have my guy with me right now. And, I'm looking forward to it, man. It's just to get the guy you want. That's what it's about. It's like we were high-fiving virtually.
It's fun,
And the Rock says, man, I'm calling the guy the Rock. DJ, as he likes to be called. He says this guy has one of the greatest last names in football, Charleston Rambo, and then he says, and he's from the U, So he said, I have an affinity for the U, So it was great, man. It's a great deal, and I'm excited about it, and I'm happy that we were able to get him.
Who's going to be calling the plays up there? We got to you got to make sure Rambo gets at least 10 touches a game.
Well, Coach Robert Ford, who was my offense.
Robert Ford.
He was my receiver coach with the Dolphins. He's one of the reasons why I got into coaching. He was the first person to talk to me about me, not about football. And to me, as a coach, that's what I kind of pattern myself, because I want those kids to feel like and know that I care about them as a person. Because if they know you care about them as a person, they'll run through a brick wall for you. And that guy, all he did was we'd be out there catching balls after practice. I mean, I know I made him get a couple of shoulder surgeries, but we'd be talking about life and doing the right thing and all these good things and not about football. So I patterned my coaching after him. And so when I got the gig as assistant head coach, I said, Buck, there's only one person I want to work for to be our offensive coordinator, and that's Robert Ford, because he's a great man. And not only will he help you as being a first-time head coach, he's won championships with the Cowboys, been in the NFL for a long time. He'll help you, but he'll help our staff, and most importantly, he'll help these kids.
Yeah, he's a great guy. I got to know him. He used to coach at a lot of the camps.
Yes.
The Rivals camps, the Under Armour camps, and he was always hired to those as a coach. And I got to know him a little bit. What a awesome dude, man.
Yeah.
Just a really, really good dude. So that's great that you guys will get to work together. All right, LT, let's take it home with a little word association here.
What you got?
Let me start with Clemson.
Ooh. Again, let's go back to what I said earlier in the show. They're still premium in the ACC. Until you knock them down. We've been close a couple of times. Well, I won't say a couple of times. We've been close, but they just were too much depth. Too many guys that, again, been there that have been developed over the years, and they got their opportunity to play. Now, you could say it's a down year, but maybe they lost a game or two, but they're still Clemson. And so for Clemson, for us to go there and play a good game and, have a great showing and then have a chance to win the ball game, I think it'll do wonders for this program as far as being able to, now you got Pitt at home, and I think it does wonders for your confidence.
Yeah, it's been pretty ugly the last several games against Clemson.
Yeah.
You just wonder, where is this team at right now?
Mm-hmm.
You got probably 20, 30 guys getting ready to go into the portal.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of fortitude are they going to bring up there this weekend? It's going to be interesting because, they're going to get smacked at times. Like this is a real football team. Best team they've played this year for sure.
Oh yeah. Well, you talk about the foundation and the culture in that locker room. It's going to be stressed. It's going to be stressed, and you'll find out a lot about some of these guys. And I'm sure as coaches, and they're sitting in this staff meeting room, because I've sat there before and said, we'll find out a lot about some of these players, and we'll know whether we want them here or whether they're getting the hell out of here. But if they don't want to be here, they got to go, and we got to bring in better.
Yeah, they're not going to be sitting here next year like this.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. So yeah, we'll see. All right, let me go. Let me see Dabo Swinney.
Dabo, Dabo's been riding high, man. He had Brent Venables with him for a long time. Defense was always pretty solid. Not as much this year. They let down a little bit, but Dabo's still a top quality coach, man. He's still I would say a top 10 coach in the NCAA. So he always has this team ready to play. One of the things I love about Dabo is that he was a receiver coach. A lot of people don't know that. He was a receiver coach who got the job as a head coach. Yeah. He wasn't ever a coordinator. He was a receiver coach. And he even gave me, because I saw him at a coaching convention, and he was starting to speak, and he said, Lamar Thomas? And I was at Louisville. I said, yeah. He's like, man, I played for Alabama, right? I'm like, yeah, I know. And I talked to him afterwards, and we developed a friendship. And he even helped. He gave me some drills that helped me as far as coaching. I learned a lot from from watching his drills. As far as one of the things I did learn from Dabo is when you do drills, you can combine 2 or 3 of them to be efficient with your time. You don't have to do one. You do 3 drills in one, and now you're very efficient with your time. And I learned that from just talking to him and watching that tape.
Would you say he was a really good receiver, coach?
He had some really good players.
Yeah.
I mean that in itself, and he seems like the type of guy, like I just said, as far as there's some guys that they're gonna coach you on the field and they're not gonna coach you off the field. He seemed like a guy that his receivers actually genuinely probably like playing for. And that's why he probably got the head coaching job, because of the job he did with those receivers. When it's something too, when you have kids that want to play for you and they know how much you care, then it kind of transitions to the whole team, and your other position coaches or your other positions, they're looking at saying, damn, man, I wish my coach was like that.
Let's go to Ja'Cory Brown.
Well, we'll see this week if they open up the offense. I would think in order to be successful, they're going to have to let the reins off a little bit and throw the ball a little bit more. The quarterback runs. We know you can run the ball, but you got to have some type of you got to be, some type of imagination. You got to fool the defense a little bit. It's not that same game plan you had Florida State. A little bit more in depth than Georgia Tech. Open it up a little bit and then come back with some of the quarterback runs, and you might be able to be successful. And maybe show that arm strength and hit them once or twice down the field, and have some guys make some plays for you.
Well, they tried. They took 2 shots,
yes.
two deep for shots in the Georgia Tech game, and he just overthrew them.
Right.
They showed some imagination as they were trying to score touchdowns as they got deeper into the field with the passes to the H-back sliding out. And those were a couple plays that Josh Gaddis had in his back pocket. Great job by Coach Gaddis. Simple passes. I mean, the one to Will, he just lobbed it out there. I mean, there was nobody within 15 yards of Will. The other one, the Skinner, was somewhat similar. I mean, just really well designed by Josh Gaddis. What you're saying is, and I agree with you 100%. You're playing a different opponent this week. Okay, this is not
on the wheel route that he threw. It's almost like number one didn't even want to be out there covering the guy.
Did you see that?
This is not going. That's not going to happen to Clemson.
No, I couldn't believe that. The guy just was like,
he packed it in. He's done. He's ready for the offseason.
That was stunning. I mean, it was to Miami's benefit, so I didn't really talk about it. But like, I've never seen a guy like so clueless and give up on a play like that. Like, it was crazy.
Packed it in.
It wasn't like he was even fooled. I mean, he was like a statue there. Like,
packed it in. He's trying to get to the club. He's trying to get to the varsity.
That was crazy. But one final thought, like, take us inside Josh Gaddis's head in this situation. We want to see the ball going down the field. We want to see what Ja'Cory can do. The fans want to see it. Right now they're assuming that things can happen, but we don't know. And we want to see it. And I think they need to see it, Lamar, because they have to make the decisions that we talked about earlier in the show. How hard do you try to keep TBD? Do you let Jake just go to the portal, or do you try to get him to stay and work with him for the next 9 months and make him better mentally? Because he could throw the football. I mean, he's got a good arm. He's got good touch. I mean, he can. I mean, would you agree with me from what you've seen of Jake Garcia that he can throw the ball a little bit? Like,
yeah, I like his arm. I mean, it's just amazing that I still didn't understand. And now seeing that you point to your head, it's like, okay, now I kind of understand. But this is going to be coming off of last week's game where you did a lot of great things, had some good play calls. You were in control of what was happening. If you can somehow get that back, you'll have a chance to win a game. And I think it'll do wonders for his confidence, because you got to have confidence calling these plays too. You can't be second guessing yourself, and the kids got to have confidence. That's why we always say, I learned this from Bobby Petrino. If they ain't completed in practice, we ain't running it in the game. So you got to have confidence. The kids got to have confidence. And as a play caller, you have to have confidence because the quarterback needs confidence too.
Yeah, you're sitting there, you're Josh Gaddis. Everybody wants to run you out of town already anyway.
Yeah.
And now you got to decide what plays you feel can get executed out on the field.
And you're hoping that your line holds up against that vaunted D-line that Clemson always has.
Much better D-line than they've played against this year.
Yes.
So, man, there's so many subplots to this football season, and it is crazy, and it's not ending anytime soon. You've got recruiting stuff going nuts. So Mark Fletcher, the American Heritage running back, decommits from Ohio State tonight.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The Gators are there's a lot of
They're
Gator
riding high. They're riding high right now.
Well, the Gators are throwing a lot of propaganda out there, that makes it look like they're going to get him, at least for now. We're 5 weeks to signing day. They're
going to lose their quarterback.
Yeah. So there's just so much going on, and it's going to be an exciting next 5 weeks. And LT, great show tonight. Little haphazard. We missed Brandon Merriweather.
Yeah.
But
he went to the movies. He went to the movies. I told him we'll get him next time.
Yeah, we'll get him next time. But you got to thank John Beeson, as good a guest as you'll ever have, and Charleston Rambo, the new receiver for LT with the Orlando Guardians. And
the OGs.
The OGs, man. And, of course, we got to thank Caneswear for once again sponsoring the show. Visit the store on University Drive in Davie or shop at caneswear.com. It's holiday season coming, Black Friday coming. Good time to reacquaint yourself with Caneswear. I know Brett and them will certainly appreciate it. And then there's the law office of Christine Rosendahl, Esquire, PA. Lamar's got that black card there for you. If you call them at 512-6199, area code 561, and you tell them you want the black card that Lamar Thomas keeps in his wallet, I feel fairly certain that the folks at the law office of Christine Rosendahl will happily put one in an envelope to you and send it to you.
A couple.
Yeah, they'll probably send you a couple. Yeah, good point, LT. And you hope you never need it. You hope you never need it. But
never know.
You never know. Yes. So 561-512-6199. Christine Rosendahl, ESQPA at hotmail.com. .com. Oh my God. That was bad. That was a bad slip of the tongue. All right, LT. Another one in the books, and I guess tomorrow you got the next day of the draft, huh?
Yeah, the special teams, and then the open draft. So might be.
You're the special teams coach, right?
Yes, I am. All
right, man. Well, we're gonna let you go to work.
All righty.
All right. For LT, I'm Gary. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next time, everybody.
Go Canes.